Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we will get to know about Christopher Columbus, one of the most famous Italian explorers and one of the most controversial figures in history. He discovered the Americas, but he wasn't actually the first person to reach the continent. The natives were already there for thousands of years. And when he arrived, he thought he was in India. But despite this, his voyages opened up the age of exploration and colonization of the New World. So who was Christopher Columbus and what did he discover? Let's find out. Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy. His original name was Cristoforo Colombo. The name Columbus is an Italian form of the name Nicholas. He was born on October 31st, 1451, and died on May 20th, 1506. From his parents, he inherited his passion for the sea. His father worked as a wine merchant and used to travel to various places by ship. Columbus was deeply influenced by his father and dreamed of becoming an explorer. In his youth, he learned how to navigate and began working as a sailor on merchant ships. He traveled to many countries, including England, France, Germany, and Portugal. During his travels, he learned many languages, which helped him communicate with people from different cultures. He also developed an interest in geography and cartography, and he became fascinated by the idea of finding a direct sea route to Asia. At that time, most European merchants had to take a long and dangerous journey to Asia to get spices, gold, and other valuable goods. They had to go around Africa, which took months and exposed them to pirates and storms. Columbus believed that there had to be a shorter and safer way to reach Asia, and he was convinced that the Earth was smaller than Europeans thought. He studied maps and charts, and he talked to sailors and merchants about their experiences. He wanted to find a way to reach Asia by going west across the Atlantic Ocean. Despite the fact that most scholars believed that the Earth was round and that there were no lands beyond the Atlantic, Columbus was convinced that his theory was correct. In 1485, he submitted his proposal to the Portuguese king, but it was rejected. Then he went to Spain to see King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. He offered to sail to Asia for them and share the profits if they funded his voyage. However, they also refused because they were afraid of investing money in such a risky project. Undeterred, Columbus continued to try to find a way to get support for his voyage. In 1492, after trying for years, he finally received the financial backing he needed from the Spanish monarchs. With 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and a crew of about 90 men, Columbus set sail on his journey to Asia on August 3, 1492. After sailing for more than a month, the crew began to get worried because they had not found any land, and they were running out of food and water. Many of them even began to believe that Columbus was leading them to their deaths. On October 12th, however, just when hope was about to run out, they sighted land. It was an island in the Bahamas that is now known as San Salvador. When Columbus reached the Bahamas, he thought he was in India, so he named the natives Indians. He explored the islands and claimed them for Spain. He then sailed back to Europe with some of the crew and the treasure he had collected, including gold, spices, and plants. When he returned to Spain, he was greeted as a hero and given a noble title, Don Cristoforo Colon. Columbus had proved that the Earth was smaller than Europeans thought, and that there were new lands beyond the Atlantic Ocean. This discovery marked the beginning of a new era in world history, the Age of Exploration. For the next 2 centuries, European countries sent explorers and settlers to the Americas to find gold, silver, and other valuable resources. They also wanted to spread Christianity to the natives. Over the course of his lifetime, Columbus made 4 trips across the Atlantic Ocean. On his second voyage, he discovered the island of Jamaica and explored the coast of Central America. On his third trip, he explored the coast of South America, and on his 4th voyage, he discovered the islands of the Caribbean Sea. During his voyages, Columbus kept detailed logs and made accurate maps and charts of the lands he discovered. He also wrote about the plants, animals, and people he encountered, and he sent back to Europe many specimens of new plants and animals. One of the most important things that Columbus brought back from the Americas was the potato. This food was very important for the people of Europe because it provided a new source of carbohydrates and helped to prevent famine. Although Columbus was a great explorer, he is also a controversial figure in history. When he reached the Americas, he enslaved and mistreated the native peoples. He also introduced diseases to the Americas that killed millions of natives. In addition, when he realized that he had actually reached the Americas, not Asia, he continued to claim that he had found a new route to India. He never admitted his mistake, even though it would have been easier for him to do so. Today, many people believe that Columbus was not actually the first person to reach the Americas. They think that the Vikings had established a settlement in Newfoundland, Canada, around 500 years before Columbus arrived. However, most historians agree that Columbus was the first European to reach the Americas. So, what did Christopher Columbus discover? Well, he discovered the Americas. Although he didn't realize it at the time, his voyages marked the beginning of a new era in world history, the Age of Exploration. He also discovered many islands in the Caribbean Sea and made accurate maps and charts of the lands he discovered. In addition, he brought the potato to Europe, which helped to prevent famine. However, Columbus was not perfect. He enslaved and mistreated the native peoples he met, and introduced diseases to the Americas that killed millions of them. Despite his flaws, Columbus is an important figure in world history, and his voyages had a profound impact on the course of human history. I hope you liked the video. If so, please leave a thumbs up. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel to learn about amazing history stories like this one. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, and see you in the next video. Here are some interesting facts about Christopher Columbus that we couldn't include in the main video, but that I think you might enjoy. Christopher Columbus was not actually the first European to reach the Americas. The Vikings had established a settlement in Newfoundland, Canada, around 500 years before Columbus arrived. However, Columbus was the first European to explore and claim the Americas for Spain. Columbus was motivated to make his voyages by his desire for wealth and power. He wanted to find a faster route to Asia to get valuable goods like spices and gold, and he wanted to get rich and become famous. Columbus was a skilled sailor and navigator, but he was also a good propagandist. He was able to convince the Spanish monarchs that his voyages would be profitable and that they should fund his expeditions. Columbus kept detailed journals of his voyages, and these journals are an important source of information for historians today. They tell us about the lands he discovered, the people he met, and the challenges he faced. Although Columbus was a great explorer, he was not very successful at staying alive. He was shipwrecked twice, and he survived several mutinies by his crew. However, he never gave up, and he continued to explore the Americas until his death. Now it's your turn. What did you find most interesting about Christopher Columbus? Did you know any facts about him that we didn't include in the video? Leave your thoughts and comments below. We would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching.